All right, guys. So I just got done watching episode 7 and 8 of Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord, and gotta say, pretty good episodes. These episodes get like really dark because they get pretty dark because throughout the whole show so far, Maul was the top dog. He was trying to take over the galaxy and everything, but in these episodes we see him start to lose, and he has to he fights the Marok, and it's an intense fight, and he like barely gets away, and then he has to go into hiding because it's pretty intense fight, pretty intense, badass fight, and that's what I love about Star Wars. I love the badass lightsaber fights. And then at the beginning of the seventh episode, Devin and Riley, they were with Maul, and they were talking, and Maul's trying to control them, because some of the stuff like that, he says to them, Devin actually listens, but then she realized not too long after, like, hey, he's a bad guy, why am I listening to this guy's bad guy? And she was like, right, let's get out of here. And Maul's like, no, you can't leave, you gotta stay here and do what I say. And they're like, no, we can leave if we want to, we're getting the hell out of here. And then he tried to keep them there. He attacked Riley, and then tried to attack Devin, but then she fought him with the lightsaber, and had a lightsaber battle, and she was able to get away, but unfortunately Riley wasn't able to, and she ran to Lawson and Docky, and was like, we got it, Riley was captured by Maul, we got to go get him, They're like, no, wait, we can't go get him right now, it'll be a little too risky. And they're like, you're just gonna leave, him to you're just gonna leave him to get captured by Maul, you're not gonna do anything. And I'm pretty sure they're gonna, but they just can't do anything right away, and they gotta wait a little bit. But then Lawson was like, no, I gotta go after my son. Got after my son. But yeah, Docky was like, no, yeah, we gotta, be a little risky. But yeah, and so Lawson, obviously we know Lawson and his son have like a difficult relationship. But yeah, the relationship is definitely starting to get better. I definitely see the relationship getting better. And even if the relationship wasn't good, still his son obviously is gonna save. He wants to save his fucking son. But yeah, and yeah, stuff. And then yeah, stuff starts going downhill for Malk. As I said, he got attacked by the Marok, and yeah, but he barely got away, and yeah, so stuff's starting to go downhill for him. He ain't, he thought, he was on top, but he's not. This happens. With every villain, they're on top, but then they get defeated. But really good show so far. The last two episodes come out next week. I definitely recommend it.